Good morning, people. Hope you guys are having a great day. Get ready to get started here in just a minute. Tarek, good to see you on there, buddy. Hope you learned something the other night and that was helpful to you. Let's see here. A little bit of housekeeping. If you look on the bottom, if you have not opened the chat, you'll see a little chat icon. If you want to talk amongst yourselves or whatnot, you can use that chat function. If you have questions, there's two different ways you can ask questions. You can either use the Q&A button at the bottom, and you click on that. It'll open up a Q&A, and then you can ask your question, and I can then click on it when I'm getting ready to answer it, or when Sean, the attorney, gets on here. He'll be here at 9:15. When he gets on, he'll be able to answer those questions as well. So that's one way of doing it. Second way of doing it is you can put your hand up or say in the chat that you want to be a panelist, in which case I can promote you to panelist, and then we can turn on your audio and video, and we can hear you and see you, or we can turn on just your audio if you don't want people to see you. Like, ladies, if your hair is not done or whatnot, then we can work around that. Not a problem. So first of all, if you guys can hear me okay, just put a 1 in the chat so I know that you can hear me okay. Sound is good. The video is good. Good. Okay. So we always got some late stragglers, and that's fine. But the sad fact is they're going to miss stuff unless they're registered, and then they can go back and watch the recordings. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Tyler Sheff. I am the host of the Cash Flow Guys podcast. I'm also a licensed real estate agent, and I'm a syndicator here in the Tampa Bay area and Memphis, Tennessee. And basically what that means is I help people, I teach people how to invest in real estate for passive income or long-term wealth. What I don't do is get rich quick. What I don't do is guru classes and $50,000 boot camps. Not a big believer in that. I am a big believer in education, but I don't believe it should cost $50,000 to learn how to buy a $50,000 house. What I've done is, because although I've been in the business 18 years in total, I've surrounded myself with people that have a lot more experience than I do, that have a lot more information and done a lot more deals than I have. And I have leveraged the courses and materials that they put out, and I offer those to my listeners. These are things that are usually not offered online, because a lot of these guys that are out that have been teaching for 30 plus years, they don't have an online presence. That is in part why we started cashflowguys.com, is to eventually get these guys and their information out to the mainstream. Again, not the schmarmy guru garbage. It's good, actionable information. A couple people on the call, Josh, Beth, have taken, Debbie from Charlotte, have taken, like Larry Harbolt, for example, taken his training, got a lot of information out of it. Here's the thing, guys, with real estate education. It's as good as it can be, provided you apply it. In other words, if you don't apply what you've learned, then you can't blame the person teaching. You can only blame yourself. Now, getting this stuff online, I've learned a lot of things, made a lot of mistakes, and learned a lot of different things. And what I think I've figured out, and you're right, Josh, implementation. Josh, I got to tell you, brother, I am proud of the action you are taking. Josh is one of these guys that has a kick-ass, take names attitude. He just gets it done. He gets out there and gets it done. I told him to do a mailing in the Tampa Bay area for multifamily properties. He did it. What happened? His phone blew up. Now he has created himself new problems. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that's what I want to see, guys. This is why I'm doing this. Josh is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because Josh is going to be a very wealthy man very, very soon, because he's taking action. He's taking the things that I've taught him and that other people have taught him, and he's applying them. And that's the key. When you apply these things, you'll get out there and crush it. I'm a believer in abundance. I believe in the abundance mentality. That means there's plenty of opportunity out there for everybody. Josh and I exist in the same market. Heck, we can even do deals together if need be. And he shares that mindset. He also has the abundance mindset. It's because of that abundance mindset that will help him be very successful. There are others that in the world that do not have an abundance mindset. They have a scarcity mindset. And what that means is that they don't feel there's enough opportunity for everybody. So they have to do whatever they can do to glom onto it for themselves. That's unfortunate that is that way, but unfortunately, that is the reality. Not a whole lot we can do about that beyond my control, but we hope you understand that there is a better way of doing things. You just got to take the time and do the work, and if you do, part of the reason why I'm doing this is I firmly believe, and one of the things my mentor taught me is that if I give to the marketplace, like I am right now, if I give to the marketplace will give back to me, and it has tenfold. Those of you that have known me for a long time know that I too am learning every single day. I've been doing this for 18 years, and I far from know it all. That's for sure. I know this much as compared to what's able to be known, what's out there. So I know that when you're starting out and you're learning, it's frustrating sometimes. I know that it can be overwhelming, and you're trying to figure out if I could just get this first deal. And I know you're probably not going to believe me when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. What I need you to do is be less focused on the deal and more focused on the relationships. It is those relationships that allows me to have people like team members of mine here on this call. Beth Cody is on my team. She is my assistant, and we're soon going to be partnering on some deals and getting her out of the rat race. Unfortunately, the good news is the only rat race she's in is mine, because she works for me for now, but we're helping her build her business because she takes massive action, because she's not afraid of looking dumb and making mistakes. She does what it takes to be successful, stepping outside of her comfort zone. Sean Yesner, another one of my attorneys. I've got several attorneys, guys. I've got SEC compliance attorneys. I've got tax attorneys. I've got real estate attorneys in three different states. I've got a trademark and copyright attorney, because I had to trademark cashflowguys.com, because unfortunately, when you start doing things in the marketplace and doing great things, there are people that will try to destroy that. So in order to protect myself from the bottom feeders of the world, I had to copyright it, which is what we're trademark it, which is what we did. So Cashflow Guys is now trademarked. There's our logo. And I wanted to show you my shirt. I just got these shirts in. Check this out. Woo. Underestimate me. That'll be fun. I believe that. Underestimate me. That'll be fun. And that's happened. People underestimate the power of the mind, and more importantly, the mindset, and what you can do and what you can accomplish if you truly put your mind to it. If you focus on giving to people, helping people, when you're out there as a real estate investor, if that's your focus, it will return itself to you. People will get on board with what you're doing. People will be happy to help you. But if you're the type of person that has the scarcity mentality, where you're just hoarding information and you expect people to do for you, and you have unrealistic expectations, you're not going to do very well in this business. I'm on a kick lately. I get on subject matters and I can't get off them, because I think that it's important. And my game here is that I want to help you. Chris, we'll get you one here. Those are going to be available coming soon. I just have, that's on Beth's list of things to do, but she hasn't seen the second list yet. But we'll make those available for you guys. I just got to find somebody that can put them out in a big enough quantity so that I can make them cheap for you guys. I don't want to do a $30 t-shirt. I had only a couple of these made, and for me, for this show, basically, so I could sit here in the camera and you could be staring at my domain name, Cashflow Guys. And I wish it was a little higher, though. But anyway, I digress. I want to get these. I want to get the price down so I can make these affordable for you guys. So getting back to abundance versus scarcity, take the time to stop and help somebody today. When you're out in the field today, doing deals, going to work, wherever, guys, open a door for a lady. There still are people in the world that appreciate that kind of stuff. Man, if you're around my mom and you don't open the door for her, she'll stand there all day long. Greek t-shirts that rock. Awesome. I'm going to write that down right now. Greek t-shirts that rock.com. I'll check that out today. I like that. John Tamura. All right. So getting started. And like I said, Sean will be here in a few minutes. Coming soon in my community, in my Facebook group. Guys, I have a free Facebook group. It's if you go to cashflowguys.com/group, I'll put that in the chat. Cashflowguys.com/group. That is a free Facebook group. That is a link to a free Facebook group that I have to help people take the next step. It's basically like a mentorship club, but I don't charge for it. There's ones out there that charge. Mine is not. We're probably going to do some sort of a donation-based thing. Here's my vision, and you tell me if I'm crazy. There are a lot of people out there that want to learn to invest in real estate, and they may not have the money to be able to afford to pay somebody to teach them. So in part, that's what Cashflow Guys community is about. That's what the group is about, is to give people a free or a reasonably priced alternative to be able to learn about real estate investing. So I put it out there. As it sits, it's free. I'm never going to require people to pay, I don't believe, because I want to give back if I can. However, all of this software and infrastructure costs me a fortune to do as it grows. Long story short, probably what I'm going to do is some sort of a Patreon thing where if people want to donate $1 or $10 a month towards free education, then I will give my time to teach you guys basically everything I know about real estate in small bites that you can chew on, okay? How to raise capital, how to find opportunity. I'm going to do live videos in there. I'm going to do recorded videos in there showing you if you're going to do bandit signs, how to put up bandit signs, how to negotiate wholesale deals, how to negotiate regular deals, how to negotiate seller financing, where to find money, where to attract capital. And if I can get somebody to agree to be recorded, I may even do a situation to where I can record some of my interviews with investors so that you can hear me raise capital live. Now, that's going to take a little bit of work on my side because not everybody wants I ask a lot of deep and probing questions to my investors to understand them better, to fully understand what their needs are. Because if I don't understand what their needs are, then I'm going to have a difficult time addressing them. So Sean is here, guys. There he is. Sean, you're on mute right now. Let me see if I can unmute you. I've got you unmuted.
There you go. How's it going?
Let me. You're good. We got a light right over the top of your head. So while Sean's getting situated, I'll just finish real quick. So that's my vision with Cashflow Guys community, my Facebook group, is I want to put it out there, and I want to be able to teach people that both that have the money to pay to learn and those that don't. So my thought process is that it'll be donation based. Everybody is welcome. If you are not able to pay, that's fine. Then you can still be there. Nobody's going to beat you up. If you are able to pay, we ask that you give some sort of a donation, a monthly donation. It's done through Patreon to help us out. Now, I'm going to have people like Sean Yesner, my attorney, there in the group. He's already a member of the group. Actually, he's one of the administrators of the group. He's able to make posts and whatnot and help me manage the group. So keep in mind, guys, that's access to an attorney. Not too shabby. I'm going to have maybe I can talk Charles Shapiro or one of my CPAs into getting involved as well, and some of the other people that are on my team that help me do what I do every day, help me be successful. These are people that are good people that would probably be more than willing to help you be successful as well. So that's kind of my vision there with that. Negotiations class, deal structure. I've done some polls in there recently. I know you guys have wanted to learn more about negotiations and deal structure, so we're going to be covering that coming up. I'm going to be doing some micro videos or micro courses in that regard. Understanding a market, how to find opportunities. I'm going to be doing little tutorials and classes on that. That's all going to be in Cashflow Guys community. Guys, I'm going to take that community and I'm just going to explode everything that I've learned. I'm going to leverage all the experience of my team into that group and provide you guys that resource. So we hope that you take advantage of it. Because when we're done, you're not going to be able to say that nobody was willing to help you. I can assure you there, because we'll be able to. So that's what we're working on coming up. With that said, I want to introduce Sean Yesner. Sean is one of the attorneys on my legal team. Sean is an attorney here in the state of Florida. He is the owner of Yesner Law, and he is also the host of the Crushing Debt podcast. Guys, I listen to this show on a regular basis. I've been on the show. That's not just why I listen to it, but if you want to get some great advice direct from the attorney, okay, because you guys always hear me say, contact your legal, your attorney, or contact your tax professional. Here's your chance. He's right here. So ask your questions. That said, if you listen to his podcast, you're going to pick up all kinds of nuggets of information, all kinds of legal questions that you need answered. And a reminder for those of you that just joined us here live on Zoom, you can raise your hand if you want to be a panelist, and we'll add you to your video and audio. We'll add you up here on the screen so that people can see you and hear you and whatnot if you want to do that. So this can be the exact same format as a normal Zoom if you need be. And if you have questions down in the Q&A, ask questions down in the Q&A. We've got a couple questions to get started. I wonder if Lance has made it here yet.
Can everyone hear me, by the way?
I hear you, so I'm hoping they can.
Okay, good.
All right. Yes, Sean Yesner. Let me type it in. Sean. All right, good. Josh, Beth can hear. Outstanding. So, Sean, welcome. I know this is your first time on Coffee with the Cash Flow guys. Give us a little bit of background about what you've done with law before. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. A little bit of admin. So I do want to participate on a regular basis. Today, I'm a little bit on daddy duty because of some stuff going on. So I'm doing this from my house. Future episodes, you won't see my back bedroom behind me. You'll see my office behind me. But so I've been an attorney now since 1998. If my math is right, that's 18, 19 years now. That entire time has been in real estate law. I started doing residential and commercial closings. From there, in 2001, I took a job at a foreclosure mill. So I was taking away people's houses, and I got really good at it. My fastest foreclosure start to finish was 90 days from list to foreclosure sale. Well, so now I've joined, I don't know, you want to say I joined the good side or bad side. I don't know which one, but in 2004, the owner said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm shutting the firm down. And so I figured, well, what am I going to do before my file comes across my desk? And so what I did was I switched sides and I started slowing down foreclosures. And that then led me to the investor world. That led me to bankruptcies, loan modifications, short sales, foreclosure defenses, all those different areas of law, the consumer protection law that I do, which is the genesis of the Crushing Debt name of the podcast. I am still fighting with iTunes, so the easiest way to find Crushing Debt is to look up my name, Sean Yesner. It used to be called the Yesner Law Podcast, and we just shifted it a couple of weeks ago. So all the logoing says Crushing Debt. There's the logo. All the logos say Crushing Debt, and pretty soon iTunes will get that corrected as well. So that's a little bit about my background. I do have experience working with investors. I have experience with land trusts. I've taken Larry Harbolt's land trust course. I've read up all about Mark Warda and his land trust books. I understand subject to deals. I understand pretty much anything and everything that you can think of. Setting up corporate structures, LLCs, corporations, all those different types of things. The one disclaimer, I will answer questions to the best of my ability, but if we go outside the state of Florida, I may not know the answer for you. I'll give you what I think is the most logical answer. I'll tell you what Florida would say in that situation. But if it's outside the state of Florida, I'll try to connect you with an attorney in that state rather than risking my license by answering questions outside of my jurisdiction.
Cool. Question about that. So, excuse my naivety. I've asked you this question before, but I think it would be benefit the audience is that a lot of misconceptions as far as attorneys in law, and you're licensed as an attorney. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's a license, and then you can practice law in the state of Florida as far as your expertise, if there was to be, to use the term loosely, would be I know that's a legal jargon, but your preference is Florida law. But a lot of things, let's say, for example, you can say as an attorney that if you murder somebody, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to go to jail. You can say that applies to any state,
Right.
because that's a very obvious and general statement. Now, how long you go to jail would differ from state to state, and then in that case, the person should reach out to their individual attorney. So in that case, if you're giving legal advice as a Florida attorney, in a general sense, the information should be similar, maybe, from state to state. And please correct me if I'm wrong. However, it can be randomly assumed. But then again, if you're like in California, then they should just reach out to their real estate attorney in California just to make sure that all the boxes are checked. Does that make sense?
Yeah, real estate law is state specific. So the general concepts are going to be there. In order to have a contract, you need offer, acceptance, and consideration. So if we have somebody in California and they have questions about, did I make a correct offer? Did I get acceptance on my offer? Do we have consideration? Those are all going to be basic principles. But then when we get outside of that to more specific, well, how does a land trust work in Florida? How does an LLC work in California? Those are going to be state specific, state law specific questions. Each state bar licenses the attorneys. So if I want to practice in another state, I have to take that state's bar exam. Okay. Some states have reciprocity, where if I pass in Florida, I can also register to be an attorney in another state without taking that state's bar exam, but that's not very common. So the other thing is with bankruptcy court. Bankruptcy is federal court. So I also had to be licensed in federal court in Florida. So now I can also practice in any federal court in the state of Florida. And then there's also, if I want to do appeals, I have to register with the specific appellate court where I'm going to do the appeal. If I want to argue all the way up to the Supreme Court, I have to get licensed in the Supreme Court to argue in front of them. So there's all kinds of different levels, but basically any question under Florida law, any question under Florida law as it applies in the federal system, all of those I can answer. When we venture outside the state of Florida, I'll use my best educated guess.
Cool. So guys, this is the importance and the value of a team. And I talk about this on a regular basis, having a team in place. Now, I don't have to send a check to Yesner Law every week because I only have to pay Yesner Law when I hire Yesner Law to do a specific task. So having an attorney on your team doesn't necessarily mean that you're shelling out $50,000 a year in legal fees. What it means is you have developed a relationship. You know the attorney. They know you. You've taken the time to sit down and explain your business processes to them, seek their advice. They understand what you're doing so that when you call next time, it shortens the learning curve, so to speak. You've established that rapport, that relationship, whether it be tax or legal, whatever. It's important for you initially when you're getting started in real estate investing to go sit down and talk to a real estate attorney, get an idea. Even if you have to, you pay for a consultation, sit down, spend an hour or two with the attorney, let him explain to them what you're up to so that you can get some general advice from them and they can help kind of guide you, because that's what they're there for. I mean, they're there to help guide you. So things like, if you take advice from me on what contract to use, what you're going to hear from me is I recommend the state contract because it's the one contract that everybody can essentially agree on the most. It's written by the Florida Bar, and it's basically a collaboration between the Florida Bar and the Florida Association of Realtors. That's what they call it, FAR Bar. But an attorney may want to tweak it a little bit for your particular needs. So take whatever document you're going to use as a framework, pick up the phone, and you call somebody like Sean and say, hey, can you help me tweak this? Anything you want to add to that on before we get cracking on questions?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So actually the version of the contract that most realtors use is the FAR Bar, the Florida Association of Realtors, the Florida Bar, and a panel of 10 attorneys and 10 realtors that get together every couple of years and tweak the contract. And actually there's a new contract coming out April 4. There's a new version of the contract coming out. But I spoke to the St. Pete branch of TB RIA on Tuesday night, and I had an investor come up to me and say, I don't like to use the Florida bar. I have my own form. Is that okay? And what I told him was, yeah, it's okay, but let me take a look at it, and I'll tell you if there's any holes in it. So you can really use whatever form of contract you want. I like the FAR bar because it's simply a fill-in-the-blank form. But if there's an investor with their own form that they like, sure, I'll take a look at it and see if there are any holes or if there aren't any holes.
Mm-hmm. And I want to further that now. And Sean, I know you would agree, Sean, because we talked about this, is that there's gurus out there that sell, one of their pitches is that you can buy forms from them. Here's the thing. If that guru's out in California, and let's say he even had an attorney present those forms, that's that one attorney's opinion of the law based on the state of California. So if you're an investor out in Idaho, you're basically paying hundreds or thousands of dollars for this template that you're still going to have to take to your Idaho attorney to have them review. And number two is that you should make sure that you understand the contracts that you're signing. Don't let the attorney write it so complicated that you and not explain it to you. You need to understand what you're signing. So, anything you want to add on that? And then I'll get started on questions here.
No, that was perfect. I completely agree.
This is from Lance. Lance, I appreciate you and I want to do a shout out to Lance while we're here. I did to Josh earlier, but Lance is a buddy of ours. We met Lance last year. Or maybe it was this year. I don't know. Time flies. Anyway, Lance has been coming to our events here in the Tampa Bay area for quite a while. I'm loving to watch him learn. Lance is one of the reasons why we do what we do. Watching Lance grow and learn, and more importantly, he's out there like Josh. He's taking action. He's getting it done. He's shaking hands. He's meeting investors. He's going to be raising capital soon. I can almost guarantee it. And he's willing to do the work, guys. He's willing to do the work. So Lance asked, if I've been renting annually, but I want to change my rental to an Airbnb, a seasonal or a vacation rental, what sort of important legal aspects should be realized before making the leap?
I think from a legal perspective, the first thing that I would do is double check, are you in an association, a homeowners association, a condo association that may have restrictions against shorter term rentals. Some condo and homeowner associations say if you're going to rent, it has to be for a minimum X period of time. The other thing that I would double check is the particular city or county, the government agency that oversees, because that government agency may have, the county may have some type of restrictions against an Airbnb or something like that. The only other thing that I think I would look into is insurance. Does insurance change because you're going from an annual rental to more of a seasonal of an Airbnb? You know, is there a difference there because of the type of rental that it is? Probably not, but can't hurt to ask the insurance agent that question. Outside of that, it's your property. If you want to rent it out seasonally, go for it. Rent it out seasonally.
Now, we've heard that, I'll wait till he comes back, but Airbnb is something that I pay attention to anytime I hear a question about that. As far as the restrictions for the municipalities, Sean, that's something that I want to talk to you about later as a task item, because we have that issue here in the Tampa Bay area where some municipalities are giving people grief about it. And it's been my experience, what I've found, because I've been doing some digging, is that it really boils down to they haven't figured out how to tax it appropriately. Now, the state is getting their tax, right? But the individual municipalities are having a hard time getting the tax out of the state because they're not putting the effort in to figure it out. Those that have loosened the restrictions because they find that it's a great source of jobs for the community, number one. Two, it's a huge boost to the tax base, and it puts out, turns very nice properties and attracts people that are spending money. So there's a lot of ups definitely about that. The second question, month-to-month renter lease agreements is the topic. I'm just now hearing how much landlords are using these. Can you talk about why you do or don't do, or do you recommend them or not? What's your thoughts on month-to-month?
I think it's up to the agreement that the landlord and the tenant come to, whether it's month to month or whether it's some type of longer term commitment. The biggest trap that I see in month to month rental agreements is the termination of the rental agreement. So one of the good things about a month to month is I can give my tenant notice, and within a very short period of time, they have to get out. Where I see a lot of confusion come in is people confuse that. So what Florida law says is that I have to give them, if it's a month-to-month occupancy, I have to give the tenant at least 15 days notice prior to the end of the month or prior to the end of the next rental period. So as we sit here today, it is March 10. So I could give notice today and say you have to be out by March 31 because March 31 is more than 15 days away. If we were at March 20, the mistake that I see a lot of investors make, a lot of landlords make, is they say, okay, today's March 20, you got 15 days, there's 31 days in March, so you got to be out by April 4. And let's forget for a minute whether April 4 is a Saturday or Sunday or holiday, because that may change things, but forget leaving that part of the equation out. They say today's March 20, 15 days from now is March 4, you got to be out. That's incorrect under Florida law. If you give notice on March 20, the tenant has until the end of April, the end of the next rental period, because you're more than 15 days prior to the end of the month. They have till the end of the next rental period to get out. Outside of that, it's really just a question of marketing. It's really just a question of supply and demand. I mean, if I'm a tenant and I have my wife and 2 kids, I'm not going to want to be in a month to month. I want to know that I'm locked into this place for a year. If I'm maybe more of a shorter term person, a month to month may not be a big deal for me. If I'm a single guy and I'm here doing a job temporarily, I may have no problem with a month to month. So those are the issues that I see in month to month obligations.
That's cool. You know, it's interesting. I love that question because when I first started investing up in Memphis, the one property manager only believed in annual leases. My first 2 buildings, I had 2 different property managers, and the second property manager, the second building, only believed in month-to-month leases. And what you said, that pays homage to. And I was trying to figure out, number one, which property management company do I want to keep? When I was making that process. So what I found out is that the property manager I wound up keeping was the one that did the month-to-month leases, because they were more focused on what my needs were and the fact that if we had a problem with Tennessee law, that we had a lot more levity. We could get them out quicker than as compared to an annual lease. So that they've been doing it since the beginning of time, literally since World War II. For them, it made more sense to be able to have more control over the leasing arrangement to put people on a month to month, because when things go haywire, sometimes you got to move quickly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I said, the only problem that I see as a practical matter with a month to month is you are potentially limiting your pool of tenants, because there may be some tenants that want a longer term commitment. They don't want you to have the ability. Now, the flip side of that coin is the tenants have the same right. So if you're on a month to month with a tenant and you're anticipating, you're projecting out your next year of rents, and that tenant approaches you and says, hey, look, we got an opportunity to move out of state. Here's our 15 days notice. We're out at the end of the month. Now you're having to scramble to get a new tenant. So it cuts both ways.
That's cool. Let's see here. For states that use title companies for closings, should your attorney be present at the time of closing to make sure no details are missed? I like that.
Well, yeah, and you and I, Tyler, are both a big fan of Insured Title. And yep. I know you've had them on your podcast on Cashflow Guys before. And I was actually at Become a Better Agent yesterday. I was a speaker on the FAR bar contract at BABA 18 yesterday. And I got a similar question yesterday. And my comment was, yes, every closing everywhere should always have an attorney, always. But I think that was a little selfish of an answer. So, no, I mean, states that use title companies, I have certainly participated in closings with states that allow title companies like Florida. It's not necessary. I'll do it if I'm asked. And most times I can review the documents ahead of time. And if I can review the documents ahead of time, and then I can tell the buyer or seller, whoever it is, yes, I've reviewed the documents. Everything looks good. Go ahead and close. Funny story. I was actually hired to represent a couple who was coming from the Northeast, from New York or somewhere up in that area where attorneys have to do closings. And so they were unfamiliar with this concept of title companies doing closings. And so they wanted me to be there at the closing with them. And I said, okay, and that was fine. And I reviewed the documents And I said, listen, I've reviewed everything. Everything looks good. Go ahead, go to the title company and sign. They said, no, we want you to come with us. And I said, well, I'm happy to do that, but I've already reviewed everything. I've already approved everything. If you want me to come with you, I got to charge you more because I'm going to leave the office. I'm going to sit in this room. Nothing. And they said, yeah, that's fine. We'll pay you for your time. I said, okay, perfect. I literally sat in the corner of the conference room and playing on Facebook or answering emails or something, just looking as intimidating as I could while they signed documents. And they paid me to do it, and I left and, took my wife out to dinner that night because I got paid with some cash.
Awesome. It's kind of funny. It's, and I want to just brief departure, guys. We talk about, and you look at the poll there. I put a poll up. I'm going to go ahead and launch this now. People tend to think that hiring an attorney costs them a fortune. I'm here to tell you guys, if you want to hire me as a private coach one-on-one, I charge more than all of my attorneys per hour. My hourly rate is more than every one of my attorneys. And the hourly rates of my attorneys vary based on what their expertise is and what the subject of law they're teaching is. But I've valued my time at a certain price point, and that's what I've done. So legal fees aren't as expensive as what you might think, as compared to, number one, guessing, or number two, taking the advice of some joker at a RIA meeting or some real estate guru that's using probably the different state's law, or just really talking out of not his mouth, we'll put it that way. So take the time to get on the phone and talk to them and find out. There's every attorney on the planet will tell you up front, because they have to be ethical. They have to tell you up front what they're going to charge you before they go and do anything. They can't just say, oh, and by the way, that'll be $50,000. Wrong answer. They're going to make you sign something that says you understand that you have to pay X. That's how it works. And if you have a problem that doesn't have a certain expertise, like say I'm calling Sean, and this just happened recently. I needed family law for some issues that we're having with my nephew that I want to help my nephew out. So I needed a family law attorney. So I called Sean. He's my real estate attorney, but I called him to get a referral. And because he knows and networks with other attorneys, he was able to refer me with a really good attorney that we've since hired and is helping us through the issues. So keep that in mind. Building a relationship with one attorney can lead to several relationships with lots of great attorneys that specialize in different things. So I'm going to take a question from Tarek. Tarek says, in a multifamily, can a tenant sue the management team or owner because of another tenant's barking dog?
Wow. So there is in every lease a duty of what's called quiet enjoyment. So the landlord the landlord can't interfere with your use of the property unreasonably, and can't allow anyone else to interfere with your use of the property unreasonably. So in the case of a barking dog, I think what I would want to do is document that. So maybe make a recording of the dog and time and date stamp when the dog was barking. Maybe write letters to the management company to say, okay, it's 10:30 at night, the dog is still barking, it won't stop. If enough of that happens and the landlord or the management company won't stop it, then the tenant at that point, or the occupant at that point, has two rights. Number one, they can cancel the lease agreement, move to another place, get their deposit back, and be done with it. So the tenant would move away. But in the other situation, I think the tenant might be able to sue either his or her neighbor, or even potentially the landlord. The manager would not have any liability, but the landlord would have liability, the owner of the property, and potentially the tenant. And they could get sued, maybe in some type of declaratory action or injunctive relief. Have a court order that they stop the dog barking. Maybe the dog is the type of dog that's prohibited by the rules of the community, and so maybe you can lean on them that way to try to get the occupant and or the dog removed because it's not allowed within the community or something like that. Those would be some of the options that I would consider.
Okay, that's good. Question about land trusts. And guys, we'll hit this question for sure. Just to let you know, Larry Harbolt has a land trust course coming up in the Tampa market for April 9th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. April 8th, 9th, and 10th. And you will see attorneys in that. I think, Sean, you may try to make it this time.
I'm going to try. Yeah, I may be on daddy duty, which ironically, that's why I'm working from home right now, because I'm on daddy duty. And you may see my Tyler come wandering into the screen every once in a while.
See, there you go.
But yeah, I'm trying to coordinate with my wife now to make sure I'm there for at least a portion of it.
But as far as land trust, I'll post the link in there. It's $397 for one person and $797 for two, or $799 for two. So if you're interested in learning, really taking your land trust to the next level, then absolutely. But so Tarek asks, are there any disadvantages in land trusts that you can think of off the top of your head?
No disadvantages that I can think of. I like land trusts. I typically try to steer the investors based on their own personality, either into a land trust or into an LLC, or sometimes we get complicated and do both. I guess one drawback of a land trust is in my experience, it's one trust per property. So where an LLC, you have the ability to manage multiple properties within a single LLC, and that's up to your risk tolerance level. Do you want 5 properties in an LLC, 10 properties, 1 property? The land trust is limited to 1 per. You have the 123 Main Street Land Trust, and then the 456 Elm Street Land Trust. That's 2 separate properties. Outside of that, no, I think land trusts are a good idea for people that want to invest. One misconception people have in a land trust: it's hard to borrow money from a bank if you're in a land trust. Sometimes it's a little difficult to get insurance on the property if you're in a land trust. So what a lot of people do is they either pick the wrong bank, pick the wrong insurance agent. And so what they'll do is they'll take the property in their name individually, take out the loan, take out the insurance, and then flip it into a land trust. Well, when they do that, that's fine from a liability perspective. There's no due on sale violation issues in a situation like that. But what happens is they are still on the hook with the bank because they sign the note and mortgage individually, even though the property is in the land trust. So a lot of people have the misconception that because I moved it into the land trust, I escaped bank liability as well. That's false. That's probably one of the only drawbacks. Outside of that, yeah, I promote using land trusts. I think Larry's got a great course on land trusts, and yeah, I would always suggest a land trust to investors if that's what they're comfortable with.
That's cool. Guys, I'm going to put that link in the chat right now. If you want to learn more about land trusts, you can go back on some of my previous episodes. Go on my website, though, cashflowguys.com/podcast. We'll take you to my podcast page. Go back to episode 20, 25, something like that. I've got some episodes with Larry Harbolt talking about land trusts specifically. Some great information on there. Larry's coming to the studio today. We might do another episode on land trusts just to have a refresher, but click that link. There's a full explanation of everything that goes on about land trusts. Click through it and then read everything that is in there. There's a lot of information, a lot of good information, and Larry put it together. Chevelle asks, and Sean, I'll take this question, but if you don't mind, but I know that you guys aren't accountants, but do you have to collect and pay sales tax with month-to-month rentals, even if they end up being long-term renters? Now, when you say month-to-month rentals, Chevelle, are you talking about like a vacation rental type base? Or are you talking about in general? What I do is I have a service that collects all the appropriate taxes for me in my rentals. I learned of them through Airbnb, and the name escapes me at the moment, but basically they do all my tax prep for me since I've got vacation rentals, and I'm getting my second ones coming online next week. And I'm getting ready to add. My goal is I'm going to have 30 of them by the end of the year. My goal is 30 Airbnbs, and I want to be around 150,000 a month in passive income off my Airbnbs that are my vacation rentals. That's my goal. I'm going to get there. I guarantee you I'm going to get there. This is a powerful strategy I'll be talking about in months coming. And I'm going to record you guys. I'm going to record me doing this process so I can document it. And then you guys will be able to take advantage of that if you're a member of Cashflow Guys community. cashflowguys.com/group. That's where all the information is going to be housed. All of my stuff is going to be right there. So, Chevelle, you hire one of those services and they will do it for you. And she says, in general, this is a follow-up to Lance's question about why someone would do a month-to-month lease versus a year. I don't think you're going to get tax advice out of Sean, because even though his dad's a CPA, he's an attorney and he's not going to give you any tax advice. He's going to tell you to reach out to your tax professional. Now, Chevelle, for you, since you're in our market, look up Charles Shapiro. He's a great guy. You'll be able to reach out to him. He can give you a more specific answer. I don't want to guess on the specificity of that. I know Sean's not going to. So reach out to Charles Shapiro, make an appointment with him. You being a realtor, really, Charles should be doing your taxes anyway. He'll help you get an entity set up. So when those commissions start rolling in, he's going to help you mitigate the tax on that. So sit down with him and talk to him about tax planning. Help him develop a plan for you that will take you to the next level. So you actually were a CPA. Well, then you should know the answer to that question. My goodness, you still should talk to Charles, because your time is better spent doing deals, not doing taxes. There's a reason why you used to be a CPA and you're not anymore. So that said, Chris asks, I have a tenant that signed a 2-year rental contract I did via LegalZoom. Oh, I'm not even an attorney, and that makes me shudder.
Yeah.
Based on a previous Cash Flow Guys podcast I listened to, you can get burned using the site. Oh, see, at least I know you're listening. Is there a way to possibly amend the contract or confirm that we don't get burned? That's all you there, Sean.
Yeah. Any contract can be amended. The trick is that both parties have to agree to the amendment. The thing that I would look out for with a lease more than 12 months, so a 2-year lease agreement. Florida law says any lease over 12 months has to be signed before 2 witnesses. So make sure that your lease has 2 witnesses that have signed it. If it doesn't, then I would maybe go back to the tenant right now with 2 witnesses and say, hey, look, just a formality. Want to make sure we get these 2 witnesses to sign up. But outside of that, yeah, if the other side agrees, if the tenant agrees, you can always amend the lease agreement. If the tenant does not agree, then unfortunately you're stuck for 2 years. And when the renewal comes up, 22 months from now, you present them with a brand new lease and say, here's the new terms of the lease for the next term. And if you don't agree, then you've got 60 days, 90 days, 30 days, whatever the lease calls for, to find another place to live.
That's cool. Chris, I'm going to add you as a panelist so you can ask that next question, because I know we're probably going to need a little more information on that. If that's all right with you.
Okay.
Yes, does another family member count?
Yeah.
Let me unmute you. Hang on one second. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Can you elaborate on that? Does another family member count?
Yeah, I had my dad. Basically, he was the owner of the property. I was there to witness, and so was my mom. And the tenant was able to review the lease. They pretty much didn't have any problem with it, and they just went ahead and signed it.
Okay, so did your mom and dad sign as witnesses, or did you and your mom sign as witnesses?
I signed as witness. I mean, my mom was there physically to witness the signature as well.
Is the tenant related to any of you?
No.
Okay. I think what Florida law says is disinterested witnesses. So what I wonder is, if it's your dad's property and you and your mom are the witnesses, you're certainly disinterested as to the tenant. Are you disinterested as to the landlord? So I think the better practice would be just to have, do it maybe at a title company. If you use a title company regularly, I don't think they would care that you came in and used their conference room to have witnesses. Certainly, if you want to come in and use my office and you've got disinterested witnesses, you can do it that way. Florida law says disinterested witnesses. So as to the tenant, you're fine. As to your dad, you may not be, because you and your mom are not disinterested witnesses. Other than that, if, like I said, once the contract's up for renewal, then you make changes. If there is no, or if the tenant agrees midterm, you can make changes to it. And sometimes maybe you might want to give them incentive. So we're going to change, we're going to turn it from a 2-year lease to a 1-year lease, but in exchange, we'll give you a month at half rent, or, something like that. I'm whatever, whatever's convenient, comfortable for you, whatever the changes you want to make, offer them some incentive. We'll give you X amount of the deposit back, or we'll give you X% off the next month's rent, or we'll make such and such upgrade to the kitchen, or whatever it is. Offer them some incentive so that they're more agreeable to making whatever change you want.
Okay.
That's cool. Awesome. Thanks, Chris. I'm going to bump you off here real quick.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Oh.
Let's see. There we go. Still trying to figure out this system, guys, so bear with me. If you want to come up on video and audio and ask your question better than having to type it out, just raise your hand, let me know, and I'll add you as a presenter, and you can join us in the video and audio. You can wear a bag over your head if your hair is not done. Doesn't matter to me. I don't discriminate. But let's see. We've got a question from Lance. I'll save that one to the end.
Yeah, that's good.
With an Airbnb, if a tenant rents for 31 days, do they have squatters' rights? And Tarek is in the Florida market, Sean, so you're aware.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I mean, March has 31 days in it. So just because they would rent for March doesn't mean they become squatters. And squatter, there really is, I don't know that there is such thing as squatters' rights in terms of, at least not for 31 days. If they wanted to make an adverse possession claim against the property, that's 7 years. So I don't think 31 days really, or 32 days or 45 days, I don't think any of that gives them squatters' rights. If they're there beyond the time that the Airbnb contract calls for, it's an eviction.
That's a good point. Now, I'm going to add a little something here, not about the legal, but just from my experience and the experience of some of my friends that have been doing the VRBO, the Airbnb, the vacation rental model. First of all, guys, you got to remember, these people are paying anywhere from $100 to several $100s a night to stay there, which means if they've been there for 30 days with that big credit card swipe, you're dealing with people of significant means in most cases. So I don't think it's realistic that would happen, although anything can happen. That said, here's been my experience. If you have problems with the vacation rental type tenant, and they come through, and this is the benefit of using like a VRBO, Vacation Rentals by Owner website, or Airbnb, they are very good at helping you mitigate these issues. They are very good about, they've got a support department. You call them and say, this dude is drunk and won't get out of my apartment. That hasn't happened to me yet, but it has happened to friends of mine, and they've said that Airbnb and VRBO, both of them, have been very good about dealing with the issues, helping work through the problems live as they're happening. Because if you're not going to reach Sean on a Sunday morning at 7 o'clock when the guy's drunk, he's not going to come out there and do a hostage negotiation over your big screen. Ain't going to happen. He'll deal with it Monday after the big screen's already gone. But Airbnb is they'll step up to the plate and help you through those issues and help negotiate those issues with you. They've been very, very good at that. So that was great news to hear. Let's see here. Yeah, I've learned a lot off of this week's episode, that's for sure. And Lance asked, I love this one. Some of the worst mistakes that you've seen investors make. Give me probably the worst mistake you've ever seen investors make, Sean.
The biggest mistake that I've seen investors make, I think, is with subject twos. And they can potentially, and I believe you did a show about this, and I think even maybe Larry did a show about this, a podcast episode about this as well. So those of you that want to buy subject to, make sure that the person you're buying, your seller, is not in foreclosure, near foreclosure, about to be in foreclosure. Basically make sure the numbers work for you, because the problem then is you really have no liability. You take the property subject to, let me rephrase that. You have no liability to the bank when you take the property subject to. Excuse me. But what happens is, if those numbers no longer work and the investor then gives up the contract, gives up the house, the bank then forecloses on the former owner, the seller, the former borrower. So by taking that house subject to, you're now putting your seller at risk. You're putting your reputation on the line. that word is going to spread, and people are not going to want to do business with you if they think that you're taking advantage of sellers, you're taking advantage of people with distressed properties. I'll give you a better example. I had a client way back in the day as the mortgage crisis was in full swing, took a property subject to, and I got a call from another attorney, and they said, tell me why I shouldn't sue your client into oblivion. Tell me what they did to benefit my client, who was the seller. And I said, well, your seller got the foreclosure dismissed. Every payment has been made. The property, the loan has been reinstated. The house has a new roof. The house has a new air conditioning unit. Your client walked away with $5,000, and their rent is now lower than what their mortgage payment used to be. So you tell me how your client was harmed. And the attorney said, okay, thanks, and hung up. So if you're going to do this, make sure you're doing it right. Make sure you're not taking advantage of people. That's where I think I see investors where they get the dollar signs in their eyes and they go for the money rather than considering who it is on the other end of the deal. Not that you have to give away the farm, but just don't be overly aggressive. Don't be in it just for the money. If you're going to help people, help people.
Amen. Say that again. If you're going to help people, help people. Real quick, I'm going to have one last question. I'm going to bring Beth up here in just a second. Promote her to panelist. We're going to leave her on. I'm just going to unmute her. She's one of those girls that doesn't want to go on video this morning, but go ahead, Beth.
Go on video. Doesn't have one of those fancy computers with the video installed in it. Whatever you want to call it, Tyler.
Hey, I'm on an iPad.
Well, you two are just so fancy.
What do you want?
Some of us. Okay. Sean, so for those of us who are, been out of college for, 5 or 6 years and we still have student loans, I was told by another attorney that the best LLC, and I love the land trust structure, but I'd still like to add the extra layer of protection and do what I call the land trust lasagna, which is just multiple land trusts on top of each other, and then throw an LLC in there if someone really wants to spend the time. I was told that I needed to do kind of a double land trust, have a land trust out of the state, kind of own a land trust in the state. So having 2 land trusts in order to, I guess, keep it, possibly the IRS from coming after me for the student loans, if that was ever a problem. So what is your thoughts on that?
If the IRS wants to go after you, the IRS is going to figure it out and go after you. The IRS has the resources of the federal government. The IRS is the federal government. So if they really want to go after you for money, they're going to find a way and go after you for money. Outside of that, I don't know that the strategy of a land trust within a land trust would work, because at least in Florida, the whole concept of the land trust is that you're taking real estate, real property, and turning it into personal property. And so a land trust is designed to hold land. So hang on.
That's okay.
Sometimes daddy duty takes over. So
that's fine.
The whole concept of a land trust is that it holds land. And so how can you create a land trust in another state to hold land in Florida, number one? How do you create a land trust in Florida to hold land outside of Florida? And then how do you create a land trust that is designed to hold land that's now holding personal property, the other land trust, if that makes any sense? So I understand the concept of insulation, and let's use personal property trusts, and let's use land trusts, and let's use LLCs, but I'm also a fan of keeping things simple. And so let's put the structure in there to protect you, but the more complicated you get, the more you can even get yourself in trouble.
Okay.
That makes sense. So
yeah, no, that does.
Can a personal property trust in Florida, can personal property trust own a land trust or be the trustee?
I don't think the personal property trust could be the trustee. I think the personal property trust could be the beneficiary because now the land trust has converted that real property to personal property, which then the beneficiary is the personal property trust. I've also seen LLCs be beneficiaries. I've seen LLCs be the trustee. And then even under Florida land trust law, the trustee and the beneficiary can be the same. Outside of a land trust, that may jeopardize your trust. To have the trustee and the beneficiary be the same person or entity, that may jeopardize different types of trusts. But a land trust, you can have a trustee and a beneficiary that are the same person or same entity.
That's cool. All right. Does that answer your question, Beth?
Yep, definitely.
All right. Thanks. Thank you. Let's see here. So real quick, guys, I just want to go over the poll answers, then we'll let Sean go. He's got to get back on daddy duty, and I got to get some income generating activities on myself. So the first question I asked was, I posted was, true or false, I don't hire an attorney because to get my legal questions answered because of the perceived cost. So 5 of you selected false. The other 4 of you, so 44% of you picked true. That's interesting. Number 2, I believe I can get my legal questions answered correctly from other investors to save lots of money as compared to hiring an attorney. Thank goodness. 89% of you selected false. That's outstanding because investors suck at giving legal advice. You know why? Because they're not attorneys. God. I put that one on there on purpose to see if I could trip somebody up. And I did. See, I got one person. Luckily, it's anonymous. So number 3, I would buy a book that was written to address legal concerns involving real estate investing. True or false? 67% said true. I asked that question because everybody and the brother in Sean's network is trying to talk Sean into writing a book. And there's proof, Sean, that 67% of the people in this call think that you need to write a book.
Well, and I will put it out there. I'll make it public so that everyone can hold me accountable. The working title of the book, ironically, is Crushing Debt. The subtitle of the book is 10 strategies that you can use to eliminate debt. And I go into foreclosure defense strategies, bankruptcy strategies, student loans, IRS, debt negotiation, all that kind of stuff. And so it is in the works. I've got the intro and about 4 chapters drafted.
And I'll further that, and that's what I love. So we're bringing Sean, his podcast, into our network, and you're gonna start seeing Cashflow Guys publicizing his podcast to get more people, because I'm doing this because we believe in the information that he's putting out there, and we want more people to learn about it. Those of you that a lot of you know that we've partnered with a credit repair company to offer credit repair services here locally in the Tampa Bay area. Dave Falk with the National Credit Federation. If you go to cashflowguys.com/credit repair, if you've got credit issues or you know somebody that has credit issues and you want them, they need help getting them corrected without a bunch of schmarmy garbage. I mean, actually corrected, these issues worked through. Go to cashflowguys.com/credit repair. This is the very same company that Sean refers people to as well. I've become a director with them to help a lot of my clients get their credit squared away so that they can buy investment property or they can buy themselves a house. So that is available to you guys, and I will put that in the chat. It's cashflowguys.com/ can't speak this morning, or can't type this morning, credit repair. So I've got Larry Hardbolt coming to the studio today, guys. If you've got time, I'm going to be streaming it live in Cashflow Guys in the community. So that will be streamed live in the community. So watch that or watch the recording if you're not able to watch it today. Josh asked, last question, then we got to let Sean go. With regards to crushing debt, the only non-collateralized debt that my family has is student loans and IRS back owed taxes. In your experience, are there any ways to drastically reduce those liabilities, such as offering compromise? And do you represent folks to do this? That's a great question, Josh.
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. So 2 answers. Yesterday, I released episode 52 of the podcast, but episodes 51 and 50 were 2 attorney friends of mine. Both of them are also bankruptcy attorneys like me. Both of them focus almost exclusively on student loan debt and reducing student loan debt. I do some of that as well. So there's a bunch of strategies we can use inside bankruptcy, outside bankruptcy, to eliminate student loan debt. On the tax issues, The only way that I know of to get rid of taxes is within bankruptcy, and there are certain rules to do that. I don't personally have a lot of experience with offers in compromise, although I know what they are. But I do have a really good buddy of mine, Jeff Tebow, and he went to Florida. He's not related to the guy. He spells it completely different, but his name is Jeff Tebow, and he deals with IRS. He worked at a firm previously before starting his own law firm, and that's what he focuses on, is helping people get out of IRS debt. And so, Tyler, even if you want, I can hook you up with Jeff if you want to make that an episode of the Cash Flow Guys.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Sean, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah,
really appreciate it. We want to get you back on the show, guys. So thumbs up. Give me a one in the chat, or a yes in the chat if you want to see Sean come back. And if this has been helpful to you, more importantly, if this type of thing has been helpful to you, having access to an attorney here live, you can ask your questions. There's no bill coming. Maybe there'll be one coming from me. I owe Sean everything probably. He's been great. I'm in trouble. But seriously, guys, this is what Cash Flow Guys community is all about. This is what the Facebook group is going to be all about. So if you find value, tell a friend. Cashflowguys.com/group. Tell a buddy. You go to the RIA meeting, tell somebody, hey, man, you may want to join this group, because they're literally giving away this information. There's no guru course behind it. There's no schmarmy garbage. Nothing. The community is there for you. It makes people like me, people like Sean, better at what we do, because it helps keep us sharp, right? These questions coming in. Chevelle, Daniel, Chris, Debbie, Jody, especially you, Jody, massive action girl. John Williams, I want you to tell everybody in Charlotte, guys, about what we're doing down here at Cashflow Guys community. Cashflowguys.com/group. This is what this is all about. It's about taking things to the next level. It's about giving you the information you need so you can take action. Sean, thanks again for coming, guys, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Tyler.
Bye-bye.